So volcanoes. You probably already know, but magma forms within the Earth as rock melts because of how hot the inside of the Earth is. And of course, being lighter than the solid rock around it, magma rises and collects in chambers. Volcanoes themselves are mountains that open up into these chambers of molten rock below the surface. Eventually, pressure builds up and the magma pushes from the chambers through vents and fissures to the Earth's surface. And that's an eruption. Gases and rocks shoot up through the opening and spill over or fill the air with lava fragments. Mount Vesuvius is what's called a stratovolcano. Stratovolcanoes are formed from viscous, sticky lava that does not flow easily. Therefore, this lava builds up around the vent, forming a volcano with steep sides. They're cone-shaped. One stratovolcano can have multiple summits when individual cones overlap one another. Vesuvius is made up of two main summits. For days, the ground had been shaking. However, the residents of Pompeii were unconcerned. They thought it was normal and were pretty used to the shaking. But then, on a fateful day, to quote, "A cloud was ascending, the appearance of which I cannot give you a more exact description than by likening it to that of a pine tree, for it shot up to a great height in the form of a very tall trunk, which spread itself out at the top in a sort of branches, Pliny the Younger watching from his villa." The cloud of smoke described by Pliny had reached up to 18.5 miles high. Pliny's uncle, Pliny the Elder, captained the Roman fleet and set off across the water towards Vesuvius, determined to rescue citizens across the coast. The sea below them was retreating, and the mountain had started to slide into the sea as rocks and cinder rained upon them. So he made a pretty famous quote, and then Pliny, he just stopped at his friend's house and chilled, wanting food and a bath. He was of the opinion that the mountain was kinda no big deal, and that they should just have some dinner.
So this guy just decides to take a nap as the house is shaking violently and the courtyards around them are filling up with ash and rocks. They would soon be trapped and buried in the house if they didn't, do anything. So they wake Pliny the Elder up and decide to make a break for the boat, only to realize that the sea is just way too rough. So, defeated, Pliny the Elder just kind of fell to the ground and suffocated on gases and died. The same sulfur gas then split up the party as everyone ran for their lives. Now, Pliny the Younger and many of his party did end up surviving, but this is all on the edges of the storm.
I'm an untrained meteorologist reporting. It's in the streets. God damn!
The sun blocked out as the smoke shot up. Those who had not fled were either dead or trapped in their houses by ash and rock. The next morning, within 2 minutes, the city streets filled with pyroclastic flow, clouds of ash, toxic gas, and burning rock burning at 750 degrees Fahrenheit. After 36 hours of death and destruction, 20 feet of debris covered the city. 2,000 people in Pompeii perished, either crushed or asphyxiated. The city was buried in ash and rocks for centuries. However, Pompeii was not the only place around there. It's estimated that the real death toll could have been anywhere around 16,000 people. And then in 1631, it did it again. Although compared to the earlier eruption, this one was not as chaotic, it still killed anywhere between 3,000 and 6,000 people.
A failed excavation was attempted, only to find the thick layers of ash too strong, and the city was then forgotten by time. But in 1748, Pompeii was properly rediscovered by a group of explorers searching for ancient artifacts. They found underneath the earth Pompeii was perfectly preserved intact, with buildings, skeletons, and even objects in the streets. The majority of the excavations back then were thanks to this Spanish military engineer, whose name I've given up on pronouncing. But today, about 2/3 of the city have been excavated, with one of those thirds largely being done by Giuseppe Fiorelli in the 1920s.
So if there's a volcanic eruption, leave. No, but actually, governments do give out plans of what to do. In fact, it almost reminds me of the fire escape plans that we were told to make in elementary school. Identify responsibilities for each member of your household, and plan together to work as a team. Choose places to meet an out-of-area emergency contact person. Plan what to do if you have to evacuate, decide where you would want to go, and what route you would take to get there. You may choose to go to a hotel/motel, stay with friends or relatives or in a safe location, or go to an evacuation shelter if that's necessary. In the event of immediate danger, it is important to find a safe place to stay and just stay there. Also, wear some goggles, as exposure to ash outside could be harmful. Make sure you're fully clothed with long sleeves and pants. And apart from that, and just, basic survival stuff, you should be good. Today, about 2 million people live in the area around Mount Vesuvius and its lower slopes, mainly for agricultural reasons, since it has soft soil that's good for farming. But here's the thing. Mount Vesuvius is still very active. Its last recorded eruption killed 26 people in 1944 and destroyed U.S. airplanes stationed nearby. So, let's just hope for the best.
longer, though.
Got a bag of, hamburgers here for you. Just walk into the dark, shadowy part of the forest where no one can see you.
Okay.